folks have been busy little bees with your suggestions for games I need to look at, haven't you? Since posting my video about alternatives to Games Workshop games, I have been positively flooded with suggestions from you, the passionate gaming community, telling me about games that I really need to check out. Now, it's been a little bit of time since that video came out now, so I've had a bit of time to do some correlating and to get a bit of a mental picture of which of your suggestions have been the most common. And better still than that, there's even been a few out of those suggestions that I've now had time to start looking into a little bit. Now, Infinity is actually one of the games that I already suggested in that video as a great alternative to GW. But I did say in that video that it's the one that I haven't yet checked out, and it's the only one I'm recommending that I haven't actually played. But that didn't stop droves of passionate Infinity fans getting in those comments and recommending it and telling me I've got to give it a go. I couldn't believe how many of you there are. Now, it didn't really take me much persuading because I've already said I absolutely adore Infinity's miniatures, and miniatures are the main part of any game for me. I'm a painter first and a player second. But I thought I'd tackle this one by doing something a little bit different. So I went and ordered one of the Infinity boxes. Now, I will say in advance I did order an older box, and the reason I did that is just because I prefer the miniatures that are in it, and obviously the up-to-date rules for Infinity, you can get them online for free. Corvus Belli provides that, so I didn't really see a great need to straight away order the newest box set. However, I have now ordered the newer box set as well because well, you'll find out in a minute. What I'm about to show you is actually just a pure, raw, first impressions unboxing of my first batch of Infinity stuff that I've ever owned arriving, and I literally just decided to film this on the cuff minutes after the models arrived. So it really is as first impressions get. The only thing I'd seen at this point prior to what you're about to see is the outside of the boxes. So I quite recently finished painting my first Corvus Belli Infinity miniature, and this was actually a commission. I don't currently play Infinity the game. I had a really good time painting this miniature, and I was very happy with the result, considering that I'd never tried to integrate any of Infinity's kind of stylistic cues into my painting before. So it was a bit of a first for me, and it worked out really nice, and it kind of got me a little bit addicted to Infinity miniatures. So, yeah, a little bit of a different format to this video to what you might be used to. And that's because instead of something really scripted and very planned and thought out, I want to give you something that is just raw first impression. I got very excited by this Infinity miniature, so excited in fact that I went and ordered some Infinity stuff. Even if I don't like the game, I really want to paint more of the miniatures, but I was also given a ton of recommendations in response to a recent video that encouraged me to check out Infinity as a game. Anyway, it comes really highly recommended from you folks, my viewers. So I thought it would be kind of wrong to not at least give it a look. So I dropped some of that YouTube buck back into content creation, and I purchased this, which is the Operation Wildfire 2-player introductory battle pack. And it still has the pre-order model in it, so I guess that was lucky. I wasn't expecting the pre-order model, but I guess I got a box that had been lying around since the pre-order, and so I got one. Maybe just some bad stock rotation has led to me getting very lucky, but I'll take it. And I also picked up the advance pack that goes with Operation Wildfire, just for an additional, is it Shasvasti and O2 unit? I think the other faction's called Shasvasti. I might be saying that wrong. We'll soon find out when we get into it. So I'm completely new to this game. I'm coming in totally blind. I know nothing about it. I've watched one Let's Play video and a couple of painting videos to kind of get an idea, but I'm brand new and green, and I thought that might make some interesting content to see a completely new and unbiased view on what you get and what it is and what it's all about. The minis are really pretty, so I think it's obvious I'm probably going to have quite a biased view towards the minis, but let's look at it as a whole. Now, I am aware that in 2021, this is not the latest box set. In fact, I believe this is built around the N3 rules, and we are now on N4. I have remedied that. I've also ordered Operation Kaldstrom, which I believe does include N4 rules or Code 1 rules that are compatible with N4, something like that. So I have ordered a newer box as well, because I wanted more factions anyway, because my plan is, either way, I'm going to enjoy painting the minis, and if I like this game, obviously I'm going to want to be able to get other people into it, so having factions to choose from is going to be a good idea. So I have done that. That is on the way, but as of this moment, this is all I have to unbox, and really I just want to get an impression of what they send out, so this is fine for that. So I believe there is a seal on here, which we'll need to just whip off with the old kniff. And then we can get into it. They're weighty. That doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Obviously, the miniatures are all metal, and I'm aware that it comes with 3mm cardboard scenery. So let's see what we got here. Infinity Defiance. Yeah, so this is from 2019 by the look of it. Okay. Okay, sure. So I don't actually know anything about Infinity Defiance, but maybe that's something else to look into. So this is the 84-page rulebook. I was led to believe that this is printed in both English and Spanish. And it looks like the clever little puppies, what they've done is printed it so that this way it's the correct way up in Spanish, and this way it's the correct way up in English. So that's pretty cool. It's a nice clear rulebook, lots of illustrations. I'm not mad at this. I like the fact that the pages don't feel too crammed. Sometimes with 40k rulebooks, and even to an extent with Stargrave rulebooks as well. Stargrave a little bit less bad for it, but I do find that sometimes the pages can look a bit too crammed. And it can be a little bit difficult when they do that to just zone in on and pick out the information that you're looking for. Some really nice close-ups of Anjo Giraldez's illustrate or painted miniatures for the game. I know that he does all their box art, which is great because he is an incredible painter, someone who I very much look up to. Gorgeous illustrations as well. A really big fan of the illustration style that they have to accompany their game. So I'm pretty happy with all that. That's some good looking stuff. And then a bit of a rundown of what else you can buy. Cool. Cool. Yes, I like being informed of extra things. I like being informed of what other products there are. Preparation of the miniatures, that's also important. I think that's something that should be included. Okay, so this is pretty sick. It gives a brief painting guide to the Shasvasti and to the O12, so that's cool. And then we get onto the stuff itself. And there's quite a bit of it. Probably going to move some stuff aside. I'll move the terrain for a minute. We don't need that right this second. So let's just have a quick look at the miniatures. So we've got Shasvasti stuff. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll put a brief cut in and I will zoom the camera a little bit so I can show these a bit better. That makes more sense. Okay, that's better. We've got a nice close angle now. We can see what's going on a bit better. So, obviously, I'm brand new to the game, as I said. I don't know what any of these units are. I don't know if they're good or anything like that. All I can do is look at them and decide how I feel about how they look as miniatures. You know, and if I think they're exciting or interesting, or what I think of the quality. And I mean straight away the quality is consistent with what I've seen from Infinity so far. These are, and I say this with no hyperbole, these are the crispest metal casts I've ever seen. And if you're an older gamer like me, I mean I'm in my late 30s. There are obviously some of you are going to be watching this who are a lot younger than me, and so you may not be aware of this, but back in the day, as it were, metal was the crisper material to cast in. and plastics were quite far behind for the most part. Even Games Workshop's plastics were pretty terrible, at least by modern standards. And you can see this if you go back and look at like the Push Fit Space Marines that were in the second edition 40k box, for example. Plastics weren't great. And then we reached a point where metals started to get caught up by plastics. Plastics started to bridge the gap a bit. And these days, for the vast majority of manufacturers, they can still do crisper metals than they would plastics, but their plastics are nowhere near GW's plastics, and even their metals are nowhere near GW's plastics in terms of crispness, sharpness of detail, density of detail, and quality of sculpting. That is true for a lot of miniature companies these days. And that's not necessarily a problem because not everyone's trying to compete on those terms. Some companies are trying to compete more on price, for example. So there is, there's room and validity in the market for sculpts like that. But in the case of Corvus Belli, their metal sculpts are, and I hesitate to say this because I've always been a firm believer that GW are the only company on their level in terms of sharpness and density of detail, quality of sculpt, quality of cast. But now that I'm seeing lots of Corvus Belli miniatures in the flesh, now that I'm actually holding them, they are definitely on par. This is as good as the best quality sculpting GW can do. It's as sharp as the best quality casting that GW can do, regardless of whether we're talking plastic or metal. The main difference is that it's metal, which means it's a little bit harder to work with to get it prepped and looking nice, and it's not as easy to convert. So you're going to need some more specific skills and tools in order to do those things, if those things are things you like to do. But outside of that, these are stunning. They are absolutely incredible, and they absolutely rival Games Workshop in terms of quality. I mean, I don't know if my camera does have a digital zoom as well. So can you see the pinholes in the end of the muzzle brake of this gun? Those tiny little holes just in the brake. That's like, I've never even seen anything that finely cast from a GW Mini. I genuinely haven't. They're literally pinhead thin. Like, I'm not looking forward to painting that. It's going to be hard. It's pretty incredible. I'm not going to... I honestly thought that GW plastic had surpassed what metal is capable of. It wasn't a case of I thought they just did it better. It was, I literally thought that GW plastic was better than what metal can now do. But this goes to prove that metal still has some life left in it. There is still a reason to buy metal. This miniature is genuinely has more sculpted detail than anything I've seen from Games Workshop in terms of sharpness, in terms of how small and how accurate it is. Obviously, the cleanup of this is going to be a lot harder than a plastic miniature. There's no hiding from that, but that's a very interesting thing. So it looks like we've got, this is something from the no, this is Shasvasti as well. Does that mean all the Shasvasti stuff is together? That would make life easier. No, because this guy's 012. Okay. So the 012 are, they're like police from what I understand. They're like a faction of police from what I understand. Let me get that in focus for you. There you go. Pretty stunning. Again, I'll use that optical zoom. There you go. Pretty stunning level of detail in that facial sculpt. Very, very impressive. So you're not going to be mad at the miniatures. Like, does the game feel expensive when the box set is 90 quid and includes 14 or 15 miniatures? It feels expensive, sure. But when you actually hold them, when you have them in your hands, the feeling of quality is It's been a long time since I've held a miniature in my hands and just been like, I feel like I've got what I've paid for here. You know, and maybe part of that is how Games Workshop has changed my perception of miniatures, because, you know, whilst I've never been a GW exclusive wargamer, but I've certainly played and interacted with more GW stuff than anything else. And, you know, maybe in a world where we now consider 25 quid for a 30mm, for a single 30mm plastic character to be acceptable, maybe in that world, when we look at a miniature of this level of detail, with this kind of weight to it as well. For me, weight is a thing. You know, the hand feel of a miniature is important. So when we look at this, and we think, you know, if we divide the number of miniatures in the box by the price of the box, even if we didn't have the terrain and the rulebook and the dice and all that stuff, this miniature's less than a tenner. You know, in fact, when we have the terrain and the dice and the rulebook and blah blah blah, this miniature's probably less than a fiver. And to look at this level of quality, this feeling of richness and effort that has gone into creating this miniature, certainly for me as an older gamer who has an appreciation for metal, is incredible. And I hope that will translate to the younger generation of gamers that aren't used to the existence of metal miniatures, because these are just unreal to handle them, to actually see them. This is one of my favorites. She's got like a side shave, and you can do you know, that nice kind of fade look that I'm really keen on. I just personally really like painting that. Whenever I have a character with the sides of their head shaved, I will always make a point of doing that nice faded shaven look. That's just something I really enjoy painting. But yeah, I really hope that younger gamers from the post-metal era, where, you know, almost no one makes minis in metal anymore, and that's one of the things that obviously stands out about Corvus Belli, is they're one of the few companies that still push metal miniatures. And I have heard rumours of them going plastic. I don't know how true that is. If it is true, it'll be really interesting, because I don't see them settling for a level of quality below their metals, in which case we could finally see another company that rivals GW's plastics. And I think that's really good for the industry. This is another absolutely stunning O12 character. Little kind of bun at the back of their head. Some strands of hair down in the face. The facial sculptures on these are incredible. If you are, like me, one of the people who often feels like GW maybe don't do the best job of faces. If I have one genuine criticism of GW's miniatures, it's I'm not hugely in love with their faces. And in a world where they do everything else so stunningly well, that, you know, obviously stands out. Corvus Belli really do sculpt a good face. They really, really do. So I don't want to spend too long on each individual miniature here. They're really beautiful. They're just really beautiful metal miniatures. And you get, I think it's about 15 of them, because you get the, I've got the pre-order miniature in here somewhere. I think it's supposed to be 14. Yeah, this is the pre-order miniature. This is the Valkyrie looking lady. I don't know what she's actually called. Hippolyta. Hippolyta is what she's actually called. Yeah, this is the pre-order miniature that was supposed to be only for people that pre-ordered the box, but we got lucky and we got a copy of her, and she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, if you're in any doubt whatsoever of like metal miniatures and the working with them and stuff, at some point, if there is interest, please do comment below if there is interest. Then I might well do some kind of video where I talk about how to prep metal miniatures. If that's something that you think would be helpful, if you're not familiar with how to work them, then let me know, and I'm totally willing to do that. This is another one of the ones that I was really interested in. O12 have this like heavy gunner guy who's got, it looks like a fucking railgun. Look at the size of this guy. He's huge. He's absolutely hench. And I mean, that gun, a little bit bent. Just pop that back into line. There we go. That's about straight. And look at the size of that gun. That is a large weapon. For comparison, here is an Alaris Custodian Terminator. And you can see that's, I mean, scale-wise, you're talking basically Terminator scale. If you look at those two arms side by side, they are pretty much bang on the same size. So, forgive the mic bonk there. So this giant guy is, yeah, he's about Terminator size, and he looks impressive. Unbelievably impressive. Wow. I'm honestly blown away. I've only face to face in real life previously seen one Infinity miniature, and that is that one that I've just finished painting. I'll grab it back on camera now just to remind you. This was the first Infinity miniature I'd ever handled, and actually, looking at this is probably one of their simpler offerings. This is probably what you would call one of their more basic introductory kind of sculpts. Looking at what they're actually capable of is just, it's mind-blowing. I never expected to see this level of detail in metal miniatures, and I guess if it's taken until 2021 for someone to develop a casting method that makes it doable, then it was worth the wait. Because for me personally, as a fan of metal miniatures, this is unbelievable. To see metal miniatures that rival the latest plastic technology is incredible. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 miniatures, plus the limited edition Hopperlita. That was me just doing a quick count. I know that wasn't really in shot. I'm going to put another quick cut in now because we're going to look at the terrain next, which is going to take up quite a bit of table space. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've looked at the rulebook, we've looked at the miniatures, and we now need to just have a quick look at this scenery pack. Obviously, this is big, and I don't have a ton of space to film down cam stuff with. My studio is kind of set up for filming me painting still, which, considering that painting videos are such a smaller portion of the content I make, is probably something I should do something about at some point. But we'll try and have a look at this scenery pack. Okay, so it comes bound in this little paper wrap, and this little paper wrap has assembly instructions. Cool. And it's just like a what's it called, mortise and tenon joint, I think, going back to like GCSE carpentry about 21 years ago. Oh dear, I'm old. So we've got some templates, we've got some measurers. These are what's called silhouette markers. So your miniatures, if you don't know this is something I found out by watching a Let's Play, and I think it's really cool. Your miniature's footprint for working out line of sight is not worked out by the miniature itself. This allows you to do any amount of conversions and basing fuckery and stuff like that you like. You can do any of that, and there's no way that you can model for advantage or disadvantage, which I just think is so smart. I just find that so well conceived. So instead, whenever you need to check loss, these represent the width of the base that the miniature's on. So you place this halfway to where the miniature's base is. You can move the miniature while you do this. But this represents the miniature's base. Poop. And then the height is the miniature's silhouette and tells you whether or not you can see the miniature. So that's how you work out whether or not you can see something. That's how you calculate loss in Infinity, which I just think is brilliant. So like your average trooper is usually has an S value of 2. So it's called a silhouette value. So this marker, for example, would be how you represent a Silhouette 2 miniature. But you see this Silhouette 1 miniature has black space at the top. So it's only this red area here that is the silhouette of the miniature. So if you've got, say, this fella, who I'm pretty sure is Silhouette 2, if he's on the battlefield and he's being shot at, you can just sort of work out roughly where halfway on his base is, move him out of the way, drop the silhouette marker down, and that will decide whether or not you have line of sight. I think that's a very smart system for working out line of sight. It removes any and all ambiguity. And I really appreciate that, because being someone who's played a lot of 40k, and you know, and I've said this before, like I've played other systems too. I'm currently a big fan of Stargrave. I'm currently getting into BattleTech. Previously to that, back in the day, we used to play a lot of like Hero Quest. We used to play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons using a miniatures system. We played the Mech Warrior RPG, and we didn't really play BattleTech. Like the DM used to use BattleTech to illustrate what was going on in mech-based battles, but you know, there's a lot of different games that take a lot of different approaches to working out line of sight and visibility and stuff like that. And I think this system of just having this very no bullshit, no nonsense, this is how it works. I love this. You can't argue with this, right? It is completely irrefutable, and that is very smart, I think. I think that is something that a lot of other games could benefit from. So this is great. Measuring as well in Infinity, you'll notice that these are double-sided. They've got inches and centimeters on them. It's because you can use either. Use what you like. Infinity has a little app, and you tell it whether you want to use metric or imperial. And when you use the app to make your roster. And then when you print your roster out, it will modify all of anything that has a measurement connected to it, you know, movement, weapon ranges, that kind of stuff. It will modify them to imperial or metric depending on what you chose, and you use whichever measurer you chose. Obviously, you can just use a tape measure as well. I'm not going to sit here and pop all these out. That's me being a bit brainy. I am not going to sit here and pop all of these out of their cardboard, because then it's going to be hard to get them back into the box. You can see there's a flamer template here, so there are flame weapons. Is this a poster? Oh my god, it's a poster of that really gorgeous art. I can't even nearly show this on camera. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's just beautiful. It's just a really big poster of the stunning art from the front of the box. I'm in love with that. Corvus Belli, that alone gets you an extra point. That's the kind of thing I want to see. Yeah, and then you've just got this really nice terrain that's, you know, it's really nicely printed, and you just pop out all of these little doodads and stick it together. I'm told it's very easy to put together. I'm told it's not difficult. Interestingly, the graphics are printed in English. I don't know why, but I thought maybe they might be printed in Spanish because the game is Spanish, but oh, they're just lovely. Look at this. Look at this. It's got like hanging vines and stuff. This is cool. Yes, thank you very much. Extremely nice. Little advertising boards, these like little holographic advertising boards, very cyberpunk. Like if you played CP 2077, some similar visual cues, and then game tokens. And apparently these are extremely important to how Infinity works as a game. Orders are like so. Here's an interesting thing. I don't want to go on too long because this is going to end up being a long video anyway, just because it's live. But if you are a Magic the Gathering player, which I know quite a lot of my audience are, because I used to be a Magic the Gathering player and I brought a lot of that audience with me when I got into hobby and wargames content. If you are a Magic the Gathering player, Infinity is a game you really should check out. I immediately see so many parallels with the gameplay. So orders are like cards in hand, essentially. You generate orders at the start of each turn, kind of like drawing a card, but you draw a number of cards equal to how many conscious players you have. So if you've got like 7 team members that are all still conscious and active, then you generate 7 orders. But you can spend your orders to do multiple actions with the same unit, or, you know, 1 action with each unit, or whatever. You don't have to do any actions with a particular unit if you don't wish to. What's really cool about Infinity, though, is that the defending player plays at what Magic players would call instant speed. You interrupt your opponent when you're on defense, and you do stuff during their turn as well. And it kind of uses a stack system where everything's going on at once, and you use a ordering system to resolve those things in a way that makes sense. It's incredible, and if you are a Magic player, the system, I think, will be really attractive to you. So this is great. I'm very, very happy with this, and I'm really glad that I've got a second set of it coming, because this is fantastic. Okay, and the final thing that I want to go over is just this advance pack. And not because I think that this really is a great way to get a first impression of Infinity per se, but these are a pretty affordable add-on. They give you 2 kind of nice character models to add 1 to each force that's in the battle pack itself, the starter set. And they're pretty affordable. They're like 26 quid. Which for 2 character models is quite nice. So I just wanted to see how they were presented, because as an add-on that seems like a bit of a no-brainer. Like if you're already spending 90, 100 quid on a starter set, adding an extra 20 quid to get some extra gameplay, some really nice extra miniatures, you know, that could be a really cool thing. But I wasn't sure exactly how this is. Oh, that's a shame. I definitely just teared the tab. Oh well. Okay, so yeah, printed glueless box, a little bit of foam, and okay. So yeah, so these miniatures, this 012 character, again, don't know what she's called. Apologies if you're an Infinity fan. I know I sound very ignorant. This is actual, genuine, raw first impressions. I've done very little research for good reason, because I wanted to give genuine, raw first impressions. So she's kind of like a dog handler, I guess, is the easiest way. She's got this like cyber, gorilla, wolfy, doggy type thing, which is a beefy bit of miniature, actually. I didn't really know from the pictures how big this is, but oh lord, he coming. It's a bit of a chonker. Look at that. That's no joke. And again, I'll give you a model for scale. Well, I suppose I'll just grab that Alara's Custodian again, seeing as we know that's nearby. So again, in terms of size, pretty much the same size as an Alara's Custodian. Pretty bang on. So we're talking, you know, fairly chunky, hefty miniatures here. And they are just real nice. Just real nice. I can't find good words today, which could be a today problem or could just be a me being stupid problem, but I can't find good words to tell you just how much I really love these miniatures. They're just very beautiful. Some of that is going to be the styling and the fact that I specifically really like cyberpunk. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it very much is my cup of tea. Milk and 2 sugars and a little biscuit on the side. And this miniature, the handler for that big ape-looking thing, I just adore. I just really love. Although, okay, yeah, she holds a gun like this. I was like, is she missing an arm? Because this didn't look like a hand that would be holding the other end of the gun at first glance. But it is. That's exactly what's happening. Just like that. So as you can see, the poses are like super dynamic as well. They're like, they do that. They do that similar sort of thing to what GW does. You get a mix of hero poses and action poses, and the action poses are really good. Like one of those things that You know, and again, it's a shame that we have to do so much comparing to GW, but that is the world we live in, and you know, they are the market leader, so they are who you're going to compare things to. But it's kind of always been the case with GW miniatures that they are great at hero poses, but their dynamic poses often look a bit awkward. Lilith Herospax is probably the one that springs to most people's minds as a recent example. They definitely miss quite often on the hero poses. On the dynamic poses. They're very good at the hero poses, but they definitely miss quite often on the dynamic poses. They try to make something look like it's moving, and they instead make it look like it's falling over, which is a bit of a shame. I haven't seen any of that in Infinity yet. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm saying I haven't seen it yet. It has been... I just want to check if there's anything under here as well. There is not. Okay, so this is literally just the extra miniatures, which is fine. I do think it makes the value proposition of that 26 quid slightly less attractive, but not unattractive, just slightly less attractive. I still think that the price is fine for two extra, well, three in this case, but I think it's usually two really nice extra miniatures. I don't know. Again, if you're an Infinity player, do comment and let me know. Are these always two-ish miniatures, or are they sometimes like four, or what's the deal with these? Do they fluctuate a lot, or is it kind of formulaic? I'm very interested to know, because I do think that if you're buying that, 90 quid starter box, then you may as well buy one of these for the extra miniatures. There's like really very little reason not to. But yeah, I think if I try to condense my thoughts about it down, now that I've opened and looked at all this stuff, beautiful miniatures, beautiful artwork. You can tell the packaging's done on a bit of a budget, which is expected because they're a smaller company. They're not going to have that in-house printing that Games Workshop has that makes really nice... Actually, Games Workshop don't use in-house printing anymore, do they? They used to, I believe, but I don't think they do anymore. But either way, it doesn't matter. The boxes aren't as nice as Games Workshop boxes. That's fair enough. But what's inside them is incredible. I even really love that cardboard terrain. And I'm gonna say something a little bit contentious here, but I actually prefer that cardboard terrain to plastic terrain. And the reason I prefer it is because I personally don't enjoy painting terrain very much. I quite like making it, but I'm not a huge lover of painting it. So with plastic terrain, I don't get to enjoy the making, and I already don't enjoy the painting. So there's not really anything there for me. At least with the cardboard terrain, whilst the building of it might, it will be either fine or not fine, whatever, but I haven't got to paint it afterwards. You just put it together and it's done, right? And so for me personally, that cardboard terrain is perfect. It looks gorgeous. I find it immersive. I find it easy to suspend my disbelief and look at it and see a living world. So it doesn't take anything away, but it adds to me that I don't have to deal with this from a painting perspective. So let's go back to Facecam. And so there you go, friends. You can't get any realer than that. It's my literal real-time first thoughts after first laying hands on the game. And you know what? I gotta say, and I probably should have predicted this, of all the games that I'm currently in the process of researching and trying, whether it be games that I'm trying off of my own back or games that I'm trying because you've recommended them, Infinity is probably the one that's going to get its hooks in me deepest. It kind of just does it all for me. It appeals to the part of me that misses playing Magic the Gathering. It has these stunning, gorgeous minis that you get to enjoy painting between games. It's a compact game and it's beautifully brought to life through incredible illustrations. It's just something about Infinity just immediately feels like home. And you know what? That's a really good first impression. So, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to take my Infinity box to the bathroom to wipe the drool off it. But don't forget to give the video a like if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And yes, there will be more Infinity content, including, I think, some painting content. And you can, of course, while you're here, check out the links in the description below if you want to find me on social media or if you want to support the channel. There's a bunch of ways to do that down in the description. So until next time, folks, I will wish you happy hobbying. Thank you so much for watching, and I will, of course, see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.